You might be clicking this video like, what is Dan talking about? First off, why is he putting out a bullish video and the crypto markets are down? This is Bitcoin on the daily. We're going to dig into this daily chart. Huge move right now with this throwback. A beautiful move, in my view, as somebody that just checks out technical analysis. But you also might be like, well, Dan's been bearish. And if you've been tracking my YouTube channel, you know I've been talking about this long-term Fibonacci, this green range with the 786 line sitting around $17,000. It's a swing low of the last bear market to bull market high, and it's this throwback all the way back down into this bear market. I've been discussing the fall below the 786 line, the fall below the $17,000 line. So with that said, you might be like, Dan's been bearish. Dan doesn't think the bottom is even in here yet. What is he talking about? Talking about the bottom is getting close. And I want to break this down in this video. There's a couple key data points that I think set the general tone for the macro landscape. And so, yeah, we track shorter term. We can track 1 month, 2 month. We can track the daily, right? And we can track these moves. We can talk about the potential for capitulation, which I think is very much in play. But I have to say this. In my opinion, crypto is getting extremely close to the bottom. And this is just bringing in other factors outside of crypto. So let's talk about just a couple in this video. So number one, I want to just point this out. I know there's a lot of news today about the FTX Binance wars. I think, if anything, it could potentially be kind of adding short-term volatility, but just I refuse to be fooled or distracted by these little crypto headlines that really, in my opinion, don't mean anything compared to the larger picture that's in play right now. That's what we're going to look at. What is the larger picture? Everybody, we all know. We've been talking about it nonstop. It's almost getting tiring talking about the macroeconomic landscape, the rising interest rates, the inflation out of control. When is it going to end? War, all of these things. We know these are the things impacting. I want to talk about this. This is October 10th or November 10th, October CPI data coming out. And this is just in a couple days. So this is huge because we've already seen from June this trickling down. The reason why I think the crypto bottom is getting close is because of this data here. This data has, and it still is very speculative. I've been using it very speculative as a leading indicator for this. This is the actual CPI data coming out. This is Truflation on-chain Oracle data, kind of giving a little bit of a different data perspective. If you remember, we talked about this topped out in March. This was my first indicator that this chart could potentially act as a leading indicator for these rates, right? Because this topped out months before this one at 9.1 in June. This topped out in March. So this is the first thing. Now, the reason this is so important, if you zoom in here, this is falling right now, continuing to fall. Most recently in October, falling below 8%. And right now, as I do this video, 7.32%. If this continues to act as a leading indicator for the falling CPI data, this could be a really good sign for the macro, right? And that's what I'm talking about. This is macro data. Now, let's start sprinkling in something else that is potentially even larger than this, or just as large. It's this. Midterm elections, what 60 years of stock market data says. And if, in case you're unaware, today are midterm elections as I do this video. It's a huge day for the stock market. It's a huge day for the US. It's a huge day for crypto if you're zoomed out on these charts. So with the midterm elections underway today, investors are eyeing if Republicans could win back control of government and more effectively stop any and all legislation that could rattle markets. I'm not going to get into the politics of it all. I will say, if Republicans take back majority, I absolutely 100% think is going to be a really good thing for the markets. It really is. That's just my opinion. So, and we'll see how that shakes out. But putting that aside, the S&P 500 has historically outperformed the market in the 12-month period after a midterm election, with an average return of 16.3% per data from US Bank. This is especially the case for the 1 and 3 month periods following the midterm elections, as the below graph shows. So check this out. If you look at this graph, and I'll try and break it down as simply as possible, but this column right here is before the midterms, S&P 500 price performance. So before the midterms, the 12 months before right here, you can just see, 1974, negative 31%, 28%, negative 10%. So average is negative 1%. So you can just see it here at the bottom before the midterms, right? So now if we look at the next column, this is the 3 months following midterms. We scroll down, 7.3% average. And then if we scroll down and we look at the 6 months following midterms, 15.1%. And then if we look at the year following midterms, the average 16.3%. The question, could this play out? Could this be a green year? The 12 months following midterms that happened today, could it be a green year for S&P 500? Because if it is, there is a strong likelihood, in my opinion, it's going to be a green year for crypto. Stocks tend to do well post midterm elections. I mean, that's just the bottom line. That's the headline here. So we can go over here now and we can look at the weekly chart for Bitcoin and we can say, okay, so that sounds bullish. We have this macro CPI data. If it's really cooling off, right? And if things really are slowly starting to turn around from the numbers that we just looked at, and they really do over the coming months, if that happens, and then we have post-midterm elections, this average green market happening, now we have the perfect environment, in my opinion, for the bear market to end. And I'm not saying it's ending right now. I'm not saying it's ending today. This very much could be in play where in the shorter term, there is just this final shakeout, right? There could be a lot of volatility amidst all of this data happening, right? The next month could be extremely red, but the average of the next 3 months, we could bounce and we could exit the bear market in 3 months, 4 months, and it could actually end up being green. So I think in the short term, there's a lot of volatility in play. That is why right now I continue to just very carefully tread lightly above this 786 line. I'm still very much anticipating just extreme volatility in the shorter term. And you can just see a fall below that 786 line for me is still in play. But if we start looking at the chart now, this is what we need to watch for crypto. And I like to use Bitcoin as a roadmap. I like to use this chart right now as a roadmap for just crypto in general. Check this clip out from, this was like a month ago. Check this out. I would be careful when I'm looking at this pattern for this busted pattern, meaning Bitcoin does actually make a move to the upside. Maybe next week ends up being a green week and it's moving and then it actually fails and we have a busted pattern in play. I love tracking these setups, everybody. I love tracking them. Oftentimes when I track them, there's a lot of people that are like, these things don't work, Dan. And I have to just wait months or weeks or days for these things to play out, right? So in this case, this is what I'm talking about. We were talking about the potential breakout of the triangle and the throwback, right? And it's already happened. It's not perfectly hitting these trend lines just yet. It's 100% in play, but what it is doing is it's testing just the average of these moving averages on the daily, and you can actually just see right now the 50-day moving average just below this blue line, Bitcoin right now. How is this daily candle gonna close? And so we have this last support right around $18,500 or so. We know what lies below this entire lower trend line. There is the macro 786 line that we've been talking about. So I'm not going to speculate whether or not there is support all in this range, or if Bitcoin falls and starts breaking to the downside below the 786 line. I'm not going to speculate. On this channel, everybody, I just sit here. I track these things. I visualize these setups. We do it, I think, really well. I think the patterns, the indicators, all of the tools that we use help me in terms of just visualizing all of these speculative scenarios. So often they play out, and I'm just mentally prepared. I'm mentally prepared for every scenario right now. But this isn't even necessarily the chart that's so important. Yes, we know this support can fail and we can capitulate. Be ready for that, I would say. But it's this chart. It's the weekly chart. If we zoom out on the weekly, guess what? In my view, I say this over and over again, the Band-Aid has been ripped off. We've been in a bear market for a while, and things, I think, are going to slowly start turning around in the next few months. And right now, what that looks like on the Bitcoin chart, whether we go lower, whether we're sideways, whether we're up and then down a little bit, whatever that looks like in the next few months doesn't really matter. I just think the crypto bottom is getting very close. And I think today is a really big day that kind of lends some really valuable data in terms of what could really spur this turnaround. And this is 60 years of stock market data. So let's see how this plays out. Let's continue tracking the Bitcoin charts, especially, I mean, as I'm actually recording this video, markets haven't even opened. The S&P 500 has not opened yet, but we'll continue tracking S&P 500 on election day, post-election day. Next couple of days, probably going to be volatile. And then we have the US dollar currency index also. What is this going to be doing in the meantime? And then lastly, everybody, 2 days away from CPI data being released. So much going on, everybody. I appreciate you cruising by. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.